Hello and welcome to the Saturday edition, the Caribbean edition of the Useful Content Creation Show. And today we'll be talking about the benefits of building an online community with our special guest, CEO of Chef and Steward, Kari Heron.
Broadcasting live from Relate Studios in Trinidad and Tobago, it's the Useful Content Creation Show with your host, Juma Bannister.
This is the Useful Content Creation Show where content creator business owners come to learn how to create and use useful content so that they can build better businesses and relationships with their employees and clients. My name is Juma Bannister. I am your host, and I'm happy to be with you today. And I'm even happier to introduce our guest to the Useful Content Creation Show. And she's actually Useful Content Creation alumni, Kari Heron. Welcome to the show, Kari. And for those who are in the comments, remember that we are the Useful Content community. We own the bulb emoji. Don't forget to drop your hashtag UCC Live. And if you're on the replay, hashtag UCC Replay. So, Kari, please tell the people who you are and what do you do for those who don't know. And, of course, introduce yourself in the best way possible. You sent me a long introduction, which I didn't read, but you could go ahead and expand as much as possible.
I did not give you a long introduction at all. That's such a lie. One of us is telling a lie. Guess which is true. Anyway, I'm just teasing you, Juma. Essentially, what I do is I help people to build healthier and wealthier relationships with themselves and others by feeding their souls, feeding your body, feeding your spirit, and feeding your pocket. So I'm a coach, a certified coach. I've had 25 years experience in media and marketing communication because I started very, very young.
Right.
And I've parlayed all of that experience into experiences as well as a business that's quite unique in terms of the model and the vision for the business. And so it's unprecedented in terms of what I do, but it's making an impact. That's what really matters.
What is the business model? Can you share with us some of that?
Well, it's what I've done is I've created a platform where people can access tools and resources to be able to grow in really wholesome ways. Usually you have people segregating one section from the next in terms of personal growth or wellness. But I find that as a coach myself and as a consultant, as a person who walked through my own journey and is walking through because it never ends, right? That you can't separate like the mind, the body from the spirit, and all of those things, and all of the components that comprise each of us has all of those components have a great impact in terms of our overall health. So you wanting to build muscles without building spirit, wanting to build money without building character, wanting to climb the social ladder without all of these things really makes, like somebody who is working out in the gym too hard up on the upper body but the legs are weak kind of thing, or So really just approaching growth and living in a very holistic sense. So I've created a way for people to be able to do that, and at the entry point that they're comfortable with, because there are certain things that people are much more comfortable than others, and so it creates a space where people can be safe in order to tackle things that are not normally tackled in certain areas and certain communities across the world as well.
Right. And I was going to ask you what makes your content useful, but I think you answered that question by explaining what you do, how you address not just the practical things that people need, but you also address the internal things. So you don't only look at the external, but you look at what is the thing internal that then now kind of gives the external purpose, So So yeah, so that's a good way, because people need that. They need to be built both internally and externally, because the things you can't see is what really matters at the end of the day.
Right. And then you see the thing about it, because I also come from a communication background, is what you have to try to do is to be able to, it's like stand-up comedy, you know what I mean? It's medicine, but it tastes good going down. You have to be able to recognize who our audiences are and to be able to serve them the information that they need. So the whole promise is education as well as information with some entertainment as well. And we definitely, especially coming through 2 years of this pandemic and severe isolation, there's so many things and so many needs that we have in terms of finding community, finding commonality. And because even though we're on social media right now, social media is also not always the safest space to really present ourselves. So just giving us the opportunities to be able to find commonality and to grow in a safer space.
That's great. That's great. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about you, and then we'll jump to some of the core topic, which is surrounding building community and the benefits of it. So you have, and you said this yourself, you've been negatively criticized in the past for being a hustler and doing many things. I mean, some would say do one thing good first and then move on to other things. But what you've been able to do is to spread your presence across multiple platforms, social media and distribution platforms, all at the same time. Are you an anomaly, or is there a process to be able to do that?
That's a really good question. And I think the real answer to that is that I've had 25 years. So I've done things at different times. I've been honing different skills throughout that period. And as a result of having honed different skills over that period, I'm able to see things, no matter what it is that I approach, I'm able to see things. In communication theory, we call it a triangulated perspective. Essentially like a bird's eye view, seeing it from different positions. And that has made me a really great marketer, great public relations consultant, all of these things, because I'm able to see different perspectives. As an expatriate, when I walk into a situation, I'm able to seek and question things that others may not have that perspective, because we have the common area that we all look from, but somebody who's coming from outside who can see a different perspective, and that adds dimension. So the first part is that it took me some time to hone each skill. And no, I'm not necessarily the anomaly. I think people are probably just gonna understand how things work when it comes on to me, now that people are now talking about 8 income streams, multiple income streams, and all of these things. And if you look even back into the Bible, Proverbs 31, the Proverbs 31 woman is a woman who was doing how many different things? She was cooking, she was sewing, she was planting, she was doing real estate, she was investing, she was doing merchandising, she was a merchant. There are so many different things that she was doing. So there's this whole notion of find one thing and do it from who? I never had that notion growing up. I always wanted to be many different things. Why? Because there were many different things that really appealed to me. And as a creative, I have managed to find a way to do the things that I actually really love doing and do them for as long as I really love doing them. So for example, I do cooking classes. Do I want to do cooking classes every single solitary day to make a living? Absolutely not. I will hate cooking as a result of that. So if I do my cooking classes once a week, then it actually becomes something that I really enjoy, look forward to doing. It's just, as I told you, exercise. I'm working the same muscle every single solitary. And this is why people are bored with jobs. Mechanical, repetitive jobs do not sustain us. They don't feed our passions. They don't feed our souls. And so I've been able to create a model that works for me and it works for my clients, because I'm able to see the whole person, because I show up as a whole person.
A fantastic answer. I want to get. I want to add to that, but before I do that, let me recognize so many people down in the comments. Keneal is here from Jamaica. Hi, Keneal, always turning up with your bulbs. And you have Kieran Blackman. Hey, Kieran, thank you so much for turning up on our show and saying hello. And then we have Garen. Garen is supposed to be a guest on this show a couple of weeks out from now, and he knows the culture, so he is just throwing copious amounts of bulbs. Why so many, Garen? Why so many? Copious amounts of bulbs. Hello, Garen, and glad to have you on as well. So what I get from what you're saying there, Kari, is that So I had a old boss who used to make the statement. He used to say, suddenly takes a long time. And it seems that you've been in a process over a period of time. And many people kind of just see the action and they assess and say, okay, this is a set of stuff going on. But really and truly, it's almost like there are multiple streams being built in small ways over a period of time to produce something at the end of the day. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that if you actually do the work of one thing over and over again, it can become a burden. Like it can become repetitive and become, no matter how much you love it, it can become a burden, and you want to prevent that. So that's why you do different things at different times in order to balance yourself. Yeah, would that be right?
And I want to maintain the fact that there is still connectivity from one thing to the next. It only seems to be disjointed because that's how we have been like focused. What do you do? I do this specifically. I do that specifically. But if we take it from the perspective of the fact that I'm helping to feed people's bodies, feed people's souls, feed people's spirits, and feed people's pockets, then it's all connected.
Ooh,
with a broader perspective of what it is that I do. It's not so I can do it through different things, through different skills, through photography, through writing, through speaking, through coaching, through consultancy, because I've had a business for, and even this online business situation, I've been in an online business for 11 years. I'm not new to being in an online business. So but there are different things that have taken different times to come forth because of different circumstances, including moving countries and so on, being an expatriate. So certain things have taken time, but they're all very connected.
Yeah. Let's say good afternoon to Marsha. Hi, Marsha. Thanks for being on. Good to see you. And yeah. So I could see it's almost like, and this is I didn't expect to kind of take this path down for the conversation, but it's almost like part of your role is to feed people, to provide nourishments and sustenance in different ways to make sure that they grow and that they receive the things that they need in order to be healthy. So that's part of it. And so you identify different areas that you feed people, and you literally feed people via cooking and food. Then you feed their spirits, you feed their ability to generate money, you feed a set of different things. It's interesting how that all ties together when you have, as you were saying before, a bird's eye view of things. Very interesting. Take note, people. All right, so you've said that, and we're gonna this is the last question before we jump into the core topic. You said that perfection is overrated. What is your preferred approach to content creation?
Perfection is such a loaded topic for me because I come from core media and communication training with the best in the Caribbean, the best BBC trained persons who taught us back in the day. And so the element of high production value is so high that like this would not be happening normally because I can see everything that's wrong with my lighting. I can see everything that's wrong with X, Y, and Z. And so because the barrier is so high, the production value is so high, it also becomes a deterrent for entry, a bar to entry. And so I find that a part of being creative, a part of going forth and producing is giving yourself enough grace to just grow as you're doing it. And there's something really authentic about that. We don't have to come on and say that I'm a complete expert in X, Y, and Z. And maybe I know all the things that are wrong, but I'm not able to do all the things. Like, you're clearly very good with like the video setup and all of those things. I know what's wrong, but I don't have that attention to detail in those elements that you have. So that would be a weakness for me. That would be a strength for you. But if it's a weakness for me, does that stop me from showing up on camera? Because it doesn't look the way that I want it to. So that's why perfection is overrated. So we get there. Eventually, when the resources are there, we hire people like Relate to just max out the whole thing for us and say, okay, Relate, you have this contract, and your contract, because you're so great at it, is to make me look good on camera and to do all of this fantastic stuff that you do with audio and visual work. So that's your thing, and we're going because I know production value, I understand it, and you execute it efficiently. So there we work together. So don't use this bar so high that it stops you from actually coming in and getting where you need to go.
Yeah, there's so many things what you've said there. Okay, so let's see if I can identify some of those things. So the first thing I think is important is that you're aware of what may be wrong, but you could choose not to address it based on where you are in the process. So, for example, when we were talking offline, I told you the show's in flux. Now, I know the things that are wrong with the show, but I have chosen to continue to just produce it because I am testing things out. So it's okay that it's not exactly right, but you continue pushing through in the general direction of where you feel it should go. And so you discover things in that process. I forgot the second one, but the third one I thought of is that, and there will be some things that you're just not good at, and you just let somebody else do it. You pay them to exercise their expertise, and they come and they help you, and you get it done that way. One of my Jared Best Mitchell, who we know from LinkedIn, he was on his show. He's also a UCC alumni. He said that he could cut his grass, but the guy who does it for him does it better and faster. So why waste time doing it for himself when he could just pay the guy?
In 3 hours, like, do the math, right?
Yeah, yeah. Your time is valuable. You just focus on the things that are important to get the thing out. So that's really good feedback. Excellent. All right, let's jump into the core topic now and talk about some community related stuff. So the question I have for you is, should business owners with a growing community, should they all look into creating a private space for their community?
Well, before answering that, I want to differentiate between a membership club and a community, because I have both. I have both a membership club as well as a community on my website. Mm-hmm. The difference is, it depends on what your business is, but I do think that there has to be a way for us to be able to connect with our customers directly, in whatever way. At least at the bare minimum via email or telephone, be mm-hmm. able to access our clients without an intermediary that we don't control, like social media. And I've found, since moving back to the Caribbean, that so many people who have businesses seem to rely on Facebook and Instagram as if they're websites, and they're not. Yes, you can sell on these platforms and so on and so forth, but what happened last year when Facebook had a blackout for the entire day? Nobody got sales. So it would be wise, I think, to be able to find a way to connect with your clients, to serve them, to get to know them more, and to build rapport. And one of the key thing behind all of what I do is really building relationships. So I feed people and I build relationships. I help people build relationships with themselves, internal, spiritual relationships, and external relationships with others. And so if you're building a relationship is always a great and healthy part of being in business, because at the end of the day, you're not serving a client, you're not serving another business, you're serving people.
Yeah. You're speaking my language there. The purpose of content for us is to build relationship. That's the purpose of content. That's the primary purpose. And it's not, and we're not delusional to say that your clients are necessarily your friends, but there's a certain type of rapport you have to have with them. There's a certain understanding. There's a certain exchange of values. So like I made a point in somebody's post earlier today, and I said, you have a lot of friends, but there may be this one friend who you would call to pick you up at the airport at 2 a.m. in the morning. That's that one friend that would do that. You don't call everyone. You just call, this is my airport girl or my airport guy. You're going to go out with one friend. So the relationship with that friend is different to the rest. So, you have to know what the context of those things are and be able to build it accordingly.
Can I say something that is completely unrelated, but I just jogged my mind?
Sure.
You mentioned that one friend. I was thinking today, like, you know what? I hope people's no longer go into business for the sake of thinking that they have lots of friends. and that their friends will support their efforts because they have a lot of people who know them.
Right.
Your friends are not necessarily gonna come to your restaurant. They're not necessarily gonna do they may not, but it's not your friend who's gonna. So you really do have to build relationships with the people who come in, because they're not gonna be your friends. And unfortunately, that's just how life is for the most part. And
Yeah.
how many friends would you need to have anyway to make a business viable?
Yeah. That's not, you exhaust that circle pretty rapidly, especially if you're in a certain types of business. Like, we just shot all our friends' weddings, but then we like, you know. All right, let me say hello to Kieran again. Kieran has a comment. Says the show adds value to its viewers, even if it's not
I
perfect.
concur, which is why I'm here supporting you, because value, no value.
Yeah. And Lorenzo, who actually is, should I say this? He is a good friend of mine. He says, good point. There's a question about higher. There's a question there about how much control you want to have. The platform you use affects the level of control. And I think he followed up and said, how much? Oh, he said, he corrected himself. How much? Yeah. It's true. Yeah. So the platform, as you said, is like, you know what? Here's the question, right? So what
And
is your?
I don't like to do cooking videos, by the way.
Oh, you don't?
I don't like to do cooking videos because I really have a standard. I really have a bar, and I just came to the decision relatively recently in the past few months that I don't really like doing cooking videos. I don't enjoy the process of doing them because I can't do them the way I want to do them right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not that I won't do cooking videos, but I will do the other things, say the other messages, do the other things that bring me joy in the process. And that's very important to me as well. Not just doing, it's like, I'm not into prostituting my craft just for the sake of I like.
Right. There's a big debate to be had around how people build their communities and why. I mean, we could talk for hours about my views and your views on what should you or should you not do to get the people to respond to you.
That's a different. Yeah.
That's like a different conversation. I have strong views on that, on why you should or should not do things. And I've seen people build massive communities and just exit from the community because it just wasn't the thing that they were supposed to be doing, and they've changed. So that has happened already, and will continue to happen.
And repeatedly too. And people also burn out because they're doing the same thing over and over, and are not. It's something that was a joy. After a few years doing the same repetitive thing becomes stagnant. So
yeah.
Look at creating sustainable business models. If I had started out only and as a food blogger 11 years ago, then I probably would not I would not be here. Over the years, I've grown, and I've always had a growth model in mind. I started small, but always had a big model in mind. Then you have different spaces to walk into. And this business is not just about me, it's about being able to hire people and train people. So there are different divisions that other people are going to head one day, very soon. So it's not just Kari is going to be in control of everything. That's not the point. The point is Kari understands the whole picture, but different functions are able to be done by other people for it to be sustainable long-term, for it to be a joy long-term.
Right. Let me just jump back to something you mentioned earlier and ask a question about that. So what is your strategy to get people off of social media and into your online community and membership?
What you asking me to? That's something that I'm working on currently. But the first thing is that I have people who come with me to have in-person experiences with me. And they've been doing that even throughout the pandemic, which has been a really wonderful thing. So I've been, where there's been social distancing, I've been safely practicing community. And what's interesting though is it has been such a huge help, because I've even seen a lot of people, and one of the reasons why I'm really focused on doing a lot of, providing a lot of wellness resources, I've seen people have a lot of anxiety attacks. in the cooking classes because of prolonged isolation of the pandemic. But back to the direct question that you asked, because I have this in-person experience, people get to come and see me in a premium ticket experience up front, and I build a lot of relationship. So in that particular situation, I'm then able to, I want to continue that relationship. I get as much out of my experiences as I pour out. It's just a very reciprocal kind of situation. And I want to maintain that. And I offer people the ability to maintain the connection that not only they had with me, but also with each other in the process. And so it's quite organic in that regard. That they're coming in online, booking my course, having the experience with me, and then we're taking it back online because they're leaving. We're no longer going to be in the physical space. They're going to be leaving, and then we're going to continue to maintain contact. And so it's easier through that particular regard. And with the online situation, then I'm going to have to be more aggressive with social media ads to spread that as well. Because a lot of people who consume free content are quite okay with consuming free content.
Right.
And in fact, there are people who complain about SEO on recipe blogs because they're like, oh, I have to read too long to get to the recipe. And you're like, okay, buy a book. You want ad-free, buy a book, pay for the content, go behind a gate wall, go behind a content wall, because it costs people to produce. Content is not free for the person producing the content. It's only free for the person consuming it. And so we have to respect that. And one of the things that content creators have to be able to recognize is that if you don't put a value on the work that you do pretty early, then that's also going to be a problem. Because how are you going to be able to sustain it? The money has to come from somewhere.
Because it takes out of you. It takes your time. Let's just suppose somebody just gave you all the equipment you need, and you just already had the skill to actually create this stuff. Actually, it takes time. And that is probably, one would argue that that's one of the most valuable assets in existence, because time away from time doing that is time away from your son, or in my case, my daughters, time away from those things. And it costs you. So everything, and that's something I say all the time, everything costs something. Yeah, nothing is really free.
And when I started out with social media, and even with a blog, this blog, because this is not my first blog, I started with a blog, 2 blogs back in the day, a personal one and a public relations blog. And then this one was a food lifestyle niche that I maintained throughout. But the whole idea of using the web as a portfolio was what I was doing back then when I started 11 years ago. So I was in Dubai. I was new to Dubai. Nobody knew me. It was the height of the recession. And instead of applying with a million other people, which I was doing to get a job in Emirates or everywhere else, having an online presence, showing people my photography, gave me a chance to stand out from the crowd, because people could visibly see, instead of me writing that I could write, they could see the writing, they could see the photography as well. But I found that I've had to shift from it just being a visual portfolio into it being a publishing form in its own right. And so there's content, there's a publishing, as well as a separate from the content. And each of those things is equally valuable, in addition to the additional spin-off work that you would do in terms of being contracted for other jobs as well, and other products that you'd be selling.
Yeah, we have to have a separate discussion about that splitting of the thing. We touched on it the last time. This is the 3rd time you've been with us on the show, right?
I know, right?
The first time we spoke about a lot of general stuff. The second time you got into some specifics, but we said we would touch on that splitting thing, and now it's coming up again, and we're still not really technically talking about it. That's fine. Yeah, that has to be something by itself. So Valina says, it reminds me that interpersonal communication is still so very important. And she adds to that, and relationship building. And Lorenzo is saying that, good point, discovering what you have that's valuable enough for customers and audiences to pay access to pay access, it requires deep understanding of what they value. Know your worth plus what they value. Yeah, that's excellent comments here from the useful content community. And yeah, they're rocking it today.
Really great community, by the way.
They're rocking it, man. I mean, thanks, guys. For I mean, we should just kind of just invite you or let you all give the class. All right. So let me ask you a question. So your Pinterest. I mean, I was amazed at the Pinterest the last time. It's only grown since then. It's still rocking it. Like it's over 10,000, almost 11,000 followers, and like 3.7 million monthly views. And basically, there you share life and you share food, like, kind of like the summary of it. Maybe more. Maybe I missed some things. And the reason I asked about this strategy earlier is I was wondering if Pinterest was a part of your community growth strategy, or if that is just something you haven't really harnessed as yet.
I'm Pinterest. I've just been kind of like nursing. I'm not ready to really pounce on Pinterest yet. But
Right.
it's shifting. Once it passed that 10,000 mark without it being so much of a chore, then yeah, I'm gonna be paying more attention to Pinterest. It was actually more than 4 million monthly views, but because I've been working for the past few weeks, I'm developing this membership program and the membership club and the community. I've sort of neglected it. But what's funny is that I've been neglected the Pinterest. The monthly views have gone down from 4 million monthly views to like 3.7 now. But the followers have still been climbing.
Yeah.
I forgot to send you this thing. I think I have 35 million impressions in the past year.
Wow.
0.7 million engagements in the stats here. I can send you that somewhere.
Well, here's what I would say. You saying it went down from 4 million. That's like 3.6 million more than I have. So
it took me a while though. This is the thing. And I talk about those things as well a lot because I've been in the creative journey for such a long time. I was at 1,000 for years.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about, I actually posted about Suddenly as well. You know, I had a post on Suddenly. Suddenly, don't watch other people because Suddenly doesn't have. Suddenly appears to come overnight, but it doesn't. And if you think that I've not blown up anywhere near yet. I'm just laying the foundation because I believe that if you build it, they'll come. So one of the things that I'm also teaching people as well, I've just started this series on money. How do you? Because it's not money that makes you wealthy. It's a knowledge that makes you wealthy. Because you can get it, but can you keep it? You want a man? Okay, you get a man. But what happens afterwards? Do you know what I'm saying to you? There's a lot of preparatory work that needs to be done. And so I've been busy laying that foundation. Pinterest, now I'm going to be able to pounce on more for the community. I'm going to be doing a lot more work where that is concerned, a lot more video work on Pinterest. I also just got access to Reels on Instagram. I'm quite annoyed about that. My Instagram would have grown a lot more, but we were restricted for so long. So in the pandemic, when all the other countries were able to soar, that was the one thing that was hitting me hard. I would have to work 50 times as hard to get to, where other people were going. So that's also the inequality of where you're geographically located and what gets rolled out in time. So you can't measure yourself by other people and other people's timing because things just change. You just have to kind of focus on what you have and what your plans are and then to work accordingly. So Pinterest is coming up. You're going to see more on Pinterest.
Why you keep on planting these seeds in my head? You're sending me down another bunny trail of this. Oh boy, social media. All right, so we only recently got Reels. I made a big announcement about it on TikTok, and I have been posting Reels. But it's strange. You got it even later than Trinidad and Tobago in Aruba. Oh my, that's even worse. And I complain about the Caribbean all the time. Anyway, let's not go down that road. That's another show, another show altogether. Let's see what Vanny is saying here. Content isn't free for the person making it. Indeed, lol. Yes, it isn't free at all. Trust me, I know for sure. All right, so why did you feel it necessary to create this online space for members for your community?
Well, here's a few things. Like I do select coaching as well, entrepreneurship coaching and small business coaching with select clients as well. So I wanted to create a format that would also appeal to them and to help them to in terms of their own business reach. So I do that in the model as well. So I created this to be able to speak to different people. So the membership is activity based. So if memberships are activity based, and resource based. So people can access recipes, can access live group coaching, can access live masterclasses that I'm going to be delivering in person. And people can have greater access to me. I'll be able to reach more people at a lower price point than if I were booking lots of people. It also frees me up to be able to be more selective in terms of how I engage outside of that model. So I do want to be able to help people. That's why I'm here. And I believe that my time on earth is short, so I want to do as much as possible for a lot of people. And the less content I put out, then the less people I can reach. I realize that a lot of things that I know that I don't realize that people didn't know that, or you didn't know that, or you take it for granted that you know it. And it's actually extremely valuable to somebody. It could change somebody's life in a very fundamental way.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to give people tools and resources that can help. Even in terms of our community, talking about subjects that we don't usually talk about, things that are taboo, things that are necessary for us to be able to break patterns and cycles that no longer serve us well, so that we can achieve the success that we really can. It's a difference between just being, operating just like you there, I hear, I standing, but I'm not really fully in my aki, as we'd say in Jamaica. We're not really completely optimized in terms of output, because there's things that are still holding us back, whether it's a mindset, whether it's something we've been taught. There are lots of things that we have to recognize that we know or even unconsciously think, and having recognized that, then we can look at it, question it, and then find new patterns and walk out of that in order to be able to access more. The reason why a lot of Caribbean entrepreneurs back in the day would be only concerned with being able to have a nice house on a hill and a nice car and be okay with their family, whereas for me, that's not enough. For me, I want to be able to build wealth for lots of people, both the people who work with me and the people who I work for. So being able to do that on a wider scale is important, so that I'll be able now to scale the business at different levels. So that is a huge part of scaling, offering something that is accessible to many people at different price points. You may not be able to afford a one-on-one session with me, but there's a lot of stuff that you can access right now. And it costs me to produce it nonetheless. But the cost of the production is over. It's like a pool, like an insurance pool. The cost of the premium is less depending on how many people are in there. So that's essentially the whole idea, to have the business at scale so that you can reach more people, to have products at different point levels, and also it's not just price levels, but different access points. The more that you want direct time and different direct resources from me, then the more that's gonna cost. So somebody who wants me to help them to create and to fashion an online business or an online persona side hustle, this whole situation, that's gonna cost differently from somebody who's gonna pay for a few coaching sessions, differently from somebody who wants me to consult on menus or something a sort for a particular event, etc.
Yeah, and so the community gives people access to almost like I don't want to say amplified version of you, but it gives you access to external parts of you that have been created for them specifically. It's like, and you get to talk about things you can't necessarily talk about in the public eye, you wouldn't want to talk about in the public eye. And it kind of leads me to my other question. So I know one of the things that you say about your space is that,
and then also I don't have the anonymity. A very key point is that I don't have we don't have the trolls. It's a troll-free space. So
That's exactly what I was getting to. You say that it's a troll free space.
yes,
And I was about to make the point that, when you're online, that's like a part of online life. You have to deal with trolls. It comes with the territory of existing, not even necessarily putting out a content. Once you exist online, it comes with trolls, right? Why is having a troll free space important?
because when certain things are sacred, and entering a space knowing that you actually have to be defensive on a certain level is putting up a boundary that is not necessary, especially in a space where what we really want to do is to grow. If I want to make certain that we all have a lot to lose. This is why in corrupt circumstances, everybody wants to make certain that everybody had a hand in the pot. Yeah, everybody's sticking their hand in. Okay, all right, because everybody has something on everybody else. But it's the reverse. It's like in a positive way, we all have something to share, and we're holding each other close because we're holding ourselves close. So in that space, you don't want to be. No, we're talking about things that are really deep, cool, awesome, and we don't need people to deal with that negativity. And also a critical point, because again, remember that wellness and it's a huge part of what it is that I'm doing. In this age of social media, in this pandemic, and since the pandemic, more people are recognizing that social media consumption affects their mental health. It doesn't stop us from needing each other, but we need to find a safer space and safer ways to connect. And so that's what I'm offering to people. And there are lots of people who don't do social media as well.
Right. How do you identify who needs to be a part of your community?
Well, that's a really good question. Because it's there are different people who would be interested in different things. So where the people who are interested in business and the wellness aspects are gonna be sometimes the same, sometimes different. I also have stuff with kids. So people who have kids also, when I say I have stuff with kids, like I have a cooking series with kids. I'm very pro-family centric as well. So the people, the one thing that unites the people who I go after are people who have a growth mindset, people who want to grow, who want to be challenged to expand in every way.
Right. And it's interesting that you should talk about that, because I think interestingly that like food, because a lot of the stuff you do wellness stuff, but like people are attracted to that. Food is like almost like a community hack. People say it's easier to create a community when you center around like food. When they come around, like, bring people to the table and eat, and they get them to talk. That was like a strategy we used to use
in sales too.
In sales, and like back when you want to get to know somebody better, you invite them to eat and you pay, and with belly full, mouth open, you kind of like you have them talk.
The same in relationships.
yeah, it's like you feed them, and then then they get to talk, and it's so. Is that part of how you are able to get people to buy into some of the other things by presenting them with that first, or that just comes along as one of the things that you do?
Well, let me just backtrack. Understand that authenticity is extremely important to me. I do food because I love food.
Right.
And that's at the core. I love food. I grew up in food. I come from people who grew their food, peasant farmers in Jamaica. My father is a farmer. My mother is a seafood purveyor. She sells fish. I cook. I was married to a chef. Food is a huge part of my existence. But I see food as community. I don't see food as money. I see food as a way of bonding with people. And it became even much more of a bond for me having moved from, I was an expatriate in Turks and Caicos, then I moved to Dubai, and it's a huge cultural shock. I was a trading spouse. My husband was at work until the next morning. I'm alone in this place. Food became a way for me to create a community for myself. And I used to cook, and I used to take the photographs, and I got a community out of that. Other bloggers, other people who like food. And I realized that people who like food are really great people, because it takes something to sit and break bread together. And I see it much more holistically, much more spiritually. Jesus broke bread with people, and broke bread with people that people thought that he shouldn't be sitting with and eating with and drinking with. And so food gives us a way, I believe, to really understand people and to see what we have in common. We have to eat. We have to eat in order to stay alive. But what I feel about food is, once I sit and I eat and I break bread with you, then biblically back in the day, it means that I can no longer kill you because I've sat and I've broken bread with you. Now I invite people into my home. I could have done these classes elsewhere, but I invite people into my home, into my sacred space. So I am building that community. I am sharing that. So food is sacred to me. Community is sacred to me. But yes, food is a good way to find common ground. And that's also why it's brilliant when I use it for team building, for relationship building in a family, among friends, or even in the corporate setting. And remember, because I'm a trained coach and a trained communicator, that's why I tell you that I have a completely, dynamic concept of what it is that needs to happen. So if you're having problems in this area and that area, then I can still incorporate that into the food experience. You know what just happened to me recently? I had a client who came for a cooking experience, asked me to create a bonding experience for two sides of her family, inviting me to her wedding.
Wow.
Through food.
Right.
So I designed something for that. So it's just more than just a meal. Do you know what I'm saying to you? If you can see it on a different level. I know I sound very philosophical, right? And weird.
What I would say is that everyone can attest to what you're saying is not uncommon, as in anybody who has sat to eat with people around conversation can attest to the value that the thing that they're putting in their mouth brings.
And the persons who are partaking as well.
Right. So you do that. You the purpose of it is to feed your body, but then you actually look to your left and look to your right and have these conversations with people.
You feel full here too. Here, get full too.
Yeah. You fill up all that other. So I mean, that's the easiest way to kind of like say, hey, we having y'all want to come and eat? Like, talking about that. So that's recently we had a taco lime, right? Of course, we Trinidadians call hanging out liming. So we had a taco lime, and essentially everybody brought stuff, and we brought the cheese and whatever, and we did the tacos in the kitchen, and there was a line. But the whole purpose of it was like community. We hadn't seen each other in almost 2 years, and we had to come together around this food, and there was strip beef and there's mushrooms and that, and everybody started in the kitchen, and then we put the I don't know, shells or whatever on what we call the tower or the platen, right? Yeah. Well, you would know. That's the people who are in the comments. And we toasted our things and we ate and people spoke, and it was a fantastic evening. It was like we missed it. So I could attest to that, the power of that, just even recently in my experience. And there
are people who are single. There are people who don't have friends, and being able to come into a community where you can help to create that space, because it takes hosting is a different level of grace as well. To get people who are strangers to come together and to be able to find commonality and to come in as strangers, walk out as friends, that's a different level of grace as well.
Right.
So that takes a lot too.
Are there any lessons learned from creating a safe space for online community?
Well, we're in the process. What I'm finding as well is people, because it's so new, there are two aspects of my membership on KariHeron.com. One is the membership where you access the resources. The other is the community where people can post. people are not posting at this point in time. Different people will come in and they post and people take what they want when they want it, how they want it. You just have to have the resources available to them, and people will partake differently. Different people like different ways of consumption. Some people like to read more. Some people like to watch videos. Some people don't mind audio. So the lessons I've learned so far is just allow it. It's very soon that I've created this thing. I've just recently launched it, but so far you just kind of like give it space and give it time, because I'm creating something that's not really accessible in other places.
All right, excellent. Let's say hello to Kareem. Kareem is right there. He said it. He said from the Philippines, islands via Kansas City, USA. Kareem has been on.
Philippines, are you Kamusta ka? Mabuti.
Kareem, yeah. What time is it in the Philippines right now?
They're 12 hours ahead of us. Exactly 12 hours ahead of us.
Were you jumping across to the Philippines sometimes when you were in Dubai?
No, but I have so many Pinoy friends. I've got so many Filipino friends. It's unbelievable. And I know so much Filipino food. I eat so much Filipino food.
All right.
I have some Filipino recipes as well on the blog. Do you know stew chicken?
Right. Yeah, stew chicken, yeah.
Their adobo is so much like stew chicken.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah.
Stew chicken is a staple. Like a standard stew chicken in Trinidad and Tobago. It's like the first thing you learn. You learn to boil rice, stew chicken, make peas. That's it's like standard.
The corned beef thing and the mackerel thing is not cooking. That's a potting of food.
Yeah, that my chef friend. I have a friend who's a chef. He calls it a crushed cow. We don't eat the crushed cow, So what's Korean saying? 1 a.m. He's saying is across. Yeah.
12 hours ahead.
Yeah. All right. So finally, I want to ask, what are your people known as? Have you given your community a name?
Yes, Impactpreneurs.
Impactpreneurs, right?
And I registered the URL before.
Oh, you have the URL before. I know you are.
Yeah, but I'm not using the URL, but it's already registered, because one of the main things we have, and one of my main standards in content is own the content. Who owns wins. So, so the term I came up with was Impactpreneurs, and I was shocked. It just dropped in my spirit, and when I looked, it was available. I just went everywhere and registered it everywhere. But I'm not really using it. I'm just parking the space, but it's the Impactpreneurs Membership Club. And what it means, it's not just for entrepreneurs. It's for people who feel that they're driven to make an impact, not only in their life, but in the lives of others. So anybody at any stage, whether you're a mother, parent, a professional in a job, or you're an entrepreneur, or you're somebody who contemplates having a job on the side or going in your own business, whatever stage you are, male or female, it's for people who really want to feel that by the time they're done here, that they have really left a legacy by completely fulfilling everything that they were called to be. And sometimes you don't know what that is. And that's where the coaching tools are also there for you if you want to access that. And if you want to access it and then do something else with it, then that is also there for you as well.
Perfect. And for all the potential impactpreneurs out there, here is where you can go check out Kari's membership, kariheron.com/membership. And that is for her community. When you go, you realize that Kari's all over the internet. So you have to go directly here if you want to get to that piece. It's important. Of course, in general, if you go to kariheron.com, and on LinkedIn, you are in Kari Morrison on LinkedIn. And there is on Pinterest, your Chef and Steward. Go check that out. Lots of content across there. And then on YouTube, you are Chef and Steward everywhere. Chef and Steward, basically almost everywhere. And then on Instagram, you are Chef and Steward, basically on IG as well, spreading that branding carpet across many different platforms.
So now I'm happy to actually be using Kari Heron a lot more forcibly, and even the Impactpreneurs is now anchored under Kari Heron, as opposed to being. So Chef and Steward still stays on its own as a standalone brand, while Kari Heron is also a standalone brand.
Yeah, right. Yeah, You are you have more hands than you appear to have, clearly. More arms, more appendages for holding up different things. That's very, very cool. Are there any parting words that you would want to tell the people before we bring things in for a landing? Things you want them to know, things that you feel will be useful?
I would love people to join. I would love your community to join to join the membership program. And because it's quite accessible, there's 2 different points of entry. It's either monthly or annually. You save 2 months membership if you come annually. And in the process of coming to see how it works and contributing to mine, then you will be able to see how you could actually build yours as well. And if I could help you in the process, then I'd be happy to do so as well. Because the whole aim for me is not just for me to grow. I want others to grow and to thrive as well. So it's like the desert shall bloom, and by blooming, then I also create an environment where others can bloom again.
Thrive, thrive, thrive. Excellent messaging there from Kari. And before we go, I just want to say you can follow me at Juma Bannister all over. And you can follow Relate Studios. And of course, we're working on the website at relatestudios.com. Thanks everyone for coming on today and being with us. Thank you, Kari, for being here with us as well. It's always a pleasure to have you on. You share so much and give so much value to the people. And everybody showing across there and check out that membership. And you tell me what it's like, how much free food you're going to get from it. I don't know. I mean,
I think I'm going to do something for one of you guests. Let's do a group live cooking session for one of these days for your community.
Yeah, let's talk about that in the back end, and I'll promote it across. I'll promote it the places I'm most present, which is like TikTok and LinkedIn, and yeah, if you want to do that, we inside people
together.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. That'll be great. Thanks so much again, people, for being on. This is the Useful Content Creation Show, the Caribbean edition, here out in Trinidad and Tobago, broadcasting to the world, and of course, a big part from Aruba today. And we'll talk to you very soon. Bye, everyone.